Sutra of Complete Enlightenment. Chapter 4, The Bodhisattva with Universal Eyes. Thereupon, the Bodhisattva with universal eyes, who was in the assembly, rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, circled him thrice from the right, bowed down upon his knees, brought together his two palms with crossed fingers, and said, "O world-honored one of great compassion, may you teach all bodhisattvas of this assembly, and also all future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination, how a bodhisattva should think rightly, where his mind should abide when he practices gradual self-cultivation, and what expedients an unenlightened living being should use to secure his awakening. World-honored one, if these living beings do not know the correct expedient method and do not think rightly, they will be confused and stupefied when they hear about how the Buddha expounded this samadhi, and will be unable to be awakened to complete enlightenment. Will you be compassionate enough expediently to expound a method for our benefit and for that of future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination?" After saying this, he again made the same prostration and the same request for a second and third time. Thereupon, the world-honored one said to the Bodhisattva with universal eyes, "Excellent, excellent, virtuous man! It is good that for the benefit of bodhisattvas and future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination, you are able to ask about the Tathagata's method of gradual self-cultivation, in how to think correctly and where to abide, and about the expedient expounding of various methods of practice. Listen attentively to what I now tell you." The Bodhisattva with universal eyes was filled with joy upon hearing this. He and the assembly kept silent to hear the teaching. The Buddha said, "Virtuous man, all newly initiated bodhisattvas and future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination, in quest of the Tathagata's pure mind of complete enlightenment, should hold the right thought in order to keep from illusions. First, practice the Tathagata samatha by strictly observing the prohibitions of sila, providing accommodation for fellow practicers, and sitting in meditation in a quiet hall. You should always think, my body is a union of 4 elements. All impure things such as hair, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, tendons, bones, marrow, and brain come from the element of earth. All spittle, snot, pus, blood, saliva, sweat, water, phlegm, tears, semen, urine, and excrement come from the element water. All warmth and heat come from the element fire, and all motion comes from the element wind. When the 4 elements scatter, where is this false body of mine? You will immediately realize that this physical body really has no substance and owes its form to the union of the 4 elements. It is but an illusion created by the seeming union of 4 conditioning causes, and is wrongly regarded as having 6 sense organs. The complete union of the 6 inner sense organs and the 4 outer elements creates the false existence of causal conditions, the accumulation of which takes a seeming aspect called mind. Virtuous man, this unreal mind cannot exist in the absence of the 6 sense data. When the 4 elements scatter, the sense data no longer exist, and when the conditioned sense data scatter and vanish, the clinging mind cannot be found. Virtuous man, when the illusory bodies of these living beings disappear, their illusory minds also vanish. Because their illusory minds vanish, the illusory sense data also disappear. Because the illusory sense data disappear, the illusory disappearance of illusions also vanishes. Because this illusory disappearance vanishes, that which is not illusory does not disappear. For example, when a mirror is rubbed after all the dust has been wiped off, its brightness appears. Virtuous man, you should know that body and mind are illusory impurities, and when these illusory impurities vanish forever, there will remain only purity and cleanness in the 10 directions of space. Virtuous man, when, for instance, the pure and clean Mani crystal reflects the 5 colors as they appear before it, the ignorant hold to the view that this crystal really possesses these 5 colors. Virtuous man, likewise, when the pure nature of perfect enlightenment, which is responsive to all appearances, reflects the body and mind, the ignorant say that it really possesses this body and mind. For this reason, they are unable to keep from illusions and transformations. Therefore, I say that body and mind are illusory impurities, and that he who keeps from them is called a bodhisattva. When objective impurities are eradicated and subjective wisdom that avoids them is eliminated, there are also neither the bodhisattva confronting impurities nor the one calling him by that name. Virtuous man, this bodhisattva, and any living being in the period of the Dharma's termination who succeeds in awakening from all illusions and thereby in eliminating all appearances, will experience unlimited purity and cleanness as well as infinite voidness as revealed by his enlightenment. As this enlightenment is complete and clear, it reveals the mind in its purity and cleanness. Because the mind is pure and clean, the seeing impurity called dust is pure and clean. Because the seeing is pure and clean, the organ of sight is pure and clean. Because the organ of sight is pure and clean, the sight perception is pure and clean. Because the sight perception is pure and clean, the organ of hearing is pure and clean. Because the organ of hearing is pure and clean, the ear perception is pure and clean. Because the ear perception is pure and clean, the impure awareness is pure and clean. Likewise, the other sense organs, such as nose, tongue, body, and intellect, are also pure and clean. Virtuous man, because the sense organs are pure and clean, all forms are pure and clean. Because all forms are pure and clean, all sounds are pure and clean. Likewise, smell, taste, touch, and thoughts are also pure and clean. Virtuous man, because the 6 sense data are pure and clean, the element earth is pure and clean. Because the element earth is pure and clean, the element water is pure and clean. Likewise, the elements fire and wind are also pure and clean. Virtuous man, because the 4 elements are pure and clean, the 12 entrances, the 18 dhatus, and the 25 forms of existence are all pure and clean. Because the above 4 elements, 12 entrances, 18 realms of sense dhatu, and 25 forms of existence are pure and clean, the 10 powers of knowledge, the 4 kinds of fearlessness, the 4 unhindered powers of interpretation, the 18 characteristics which distinguish a Buddha from the other 3 states of sainthood, the 37 contributory conditions leading to Buddhahood, up to the 84,000 Dharani doors, are all pure and clean. Virtuous man, all things are in the absolute state of reality. Because their nature is pure and clean, so is a body. Because a body is pure and clean, so are all bodies. Because all bodies are pure and clean, all living beings in the 10 directions of space are in the purity and cleanness of complete enlightenment. Virtuous man, because one universe is pure and clean, so are all universes. Because all universes are pure and clean, all things within them, in the past, present, and future, are pure, clean, and unchanging in their universal condition. Virtuous man, since space is so universal and unchanging, You should know that the nature of knowing and feeling is universal and unchanging. Since the four elements are unchanging, you should know that the nature of knowing and feeling is universal and unchanging. Since all things from the above, up to the 84,000 Dharani doors to absolute control of passions, are universal and unchanging, you should know that the nature of knowing and feeling is universal and unchanging. Virtuous man, as the nature of enlightenment is all-embracing, pure, clean, unchanging, and boundless, you should know that the 6 sense organs are everywhere in the Dharma Dhatu. Because the sense organs are all-embracing, the 6 sense data are everywhere in the Dharma Dhatu. Because the sense data are all-embracing, the 4 elements are everywhere in the Dharma Dhatu. Thus, all things from the above, up to the Dharani doors, are everywhere in the Dharma Dhatu. Virtuous man, because the nature of wonderful enlightenment is all-embracing, the nature of the sense organs and sense data is indestructible and unmixable. Because of this indestructibility and unmixability, all things from the above, up to the Dharani doors, are indestructible and unmixable. They are like hundreds and thousands of lamps which light a room, the whole of which is filled with the light that is indestructible and unmixable. Virtuous man, you should know that in his realization of enlightenment, a bodhisattva neither ties himself to nor frees himself from a doctrine or dharma, neither dislikes birth and death nor likes nirvana, neither respects those observing the precepts nor hates those breaking them, and neither respects experienced practitioners nor slights beginners. Why so? Because his complete enlightenment on all things is likened to the light of his eyes, which is complete and does not like or dislike anything in front of him. What is the reason? Because this light is non-dual, neither liking nor disliking anything. Virtuous man, this bodhisattva, or any living being in the period of the Dharma's termination who cultivates this mind and achieves this attainment, neither practices any cultivation nor achieves any attainment. In the Buddha realms, as uncountable as sand grains in the Ganges rivers, which are as innumerable as hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, and hundreds of thousands of amsayakas, even universal illuminating complete enlightenment in its non-dual nirvanic condition is still like a flower in the sky, aimlessly rising and falling, because it is neither enlightenment itself nor something apart, and is neither bound nor liberated. Therefore, fundamentally, all living beings are in the condition of Buddhahood, wherein samsara and nirvana are like things seen in yesterday's dream. Virtuous man, as they are like things seen in yesterday's dream, you should know that samsara and nirvana neither rise nor fall, and neither come nor go. The objective realization can be neither gained nor lost, and neither grasped nor rejected. The subjective realizer neither makes nor unmakes it, and neither bears nor drops it. Subject and object do not exist in this realization, wherein ultimately nothing is realized, and wherein there is not even a realizer. For all things are only nature or dharmata, which is universal and indestructible. Virtuous man, if these bodhisattvas so practice self-cultivation by gradual steps, so rightly think and so abide in these expedients, so open up their minds for their awakening, and so seek the Dharma, they will not be confused and stupefied. To repeat his instruction, the world-honored one read the following gatha. Universal I, you should know that the minds and bodies of all living beings are illusory. With body made from the four elements and mind reducible to six sense data, when the four elements disperse, who is it that unites them? So by gradual cultivation, step by step, all things will be pure and clean. Embracing all Dharma Dhatu, the unchanging neither makes nor unmakes, bears nor drops, nor is there one to realize it. The realms of all the Buddhas are like flowers in the sky. Since the three times are uniform, there is no coming and no going. All newly initiated bodhisattvas and beings in the Dharma ending age seeking the Buddha way to enter should thus practice self-cultivation.